here is Chapter 7. This is a review of the practice test that my students have taken in their class, their math class with me, Mr. Hain. All right, so a caveat, a lot of this review isn't going to make any sense at all unless you have the practice test in front of you. Some of the questions will make sense. Some of the questions I do not include the question just for sake of size and time on the screen. So again, if you do not take my class and you're following along at home, I apologize, but the videos stand on their own, and some of these questions do make sense, but it only makes sense if you're in my math class. And with that, let's dive right in. All right, so question number 1. The important thing to realize is that Emmy's height is unknown, so that is my x here. The length of her shadow is 87 inches. And her father's height is 71 inches, and the length of his shadow is 101 inches. So height to height is in the numerator, and the denominator is shadow to shadow. So that's the important part. Now there are at least 3 or 4 other ways that you can write these fractions, and they're reciprocals. I prefer to make it so the first fraction is one person, and the second fraction is another person. All right, so we're going to cross multiply, so 87 times 71 and 101 times x. That gets us 101x equals 6,177. We need to isolate that variable x, and so of course we are going to divide by 101, and that gets us our answer, which is 61.15, and you know I love to round to the nearest tenth, especially when we're doing height, so that is 61.2 inches. Awesome. So for number 2, the question originally says a picture that is, or an iron-on or something that is 3 inches by 5 inches. And then it says that it's increased by a scale factor of 4. That scale factor is what gives me these other 2 measurements for the enlarged shape, 12 by 20. 5 times 4 is 20, 3 times 4 is 12, and they are the corresponding parts, and I've lined them up for you. So the question really is asking the scale factor between the perimeter and the area of these shapes. So in order to do that, I need to find the perimeter and area of both. So to find the area of the small rectangle, of course, all I have to do is multiply 3 times 5, and that's 15. And to find the perimeter, I just need to add up all of the sides of this rectangle. So 3 plus 5 plus 3 plus 5 are 2 3s and 2 5s. And that's where you see the formulas that I used. And the perimeter, again, is just multiplication. Area is just multiplication, and the perimeter is 2 3s and 2 5s added together. That gives me 16. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing for this rectangle on the bottom, multiply to find the area, and use the same formula, 12 times 2 plus 20 times 2. And that's going to give me the perimeter and area. So some of this is not going to be on the screen, but I'm going to talk about what I did and how I did it. So I need to compare the areas. So 240 divided by 15. This shape got larger from the 3 by 5 to the 12 by 20. So that's why the first number I'm dividing is 240 right here. So 240 divided by 15 is 16. So the area of the larger shape is 16 times greater than the area of the smaller shape. Okay, so it's 16 times. Now to find the way the perimeters, the scale factor of the perimeter, I take the larger shape, 64, and divide it by 15. So 64 divided by 15 gets me a change of, I'm sorry, not 64 divided by 15, 64 divided by 16. That gets me a change of 4. 16 times 4 is 64 for the perimeters. I apologize. So because the perimeters have a scale factor of 4, from smaller to larger, I can also say that the relationship between the larger figure to the smaller rectangle is 1/4. So 1/4 the perimeter of the larger shape is the perimeter of the smaller shape. All right, now if you look through your answer choices on the practice test, that means that the second choice or the third choice talks about the scale factor of the area as being 4. And we know the scale factor of the area is 240 divided by 15 is 16. So that is incorrect. All right, cool. So let's talk about number 3. It gives us 4 separate sets of shapes, and it asks us to find the one that is similar. So I'm going to make fractions with each of these, 9 over 16 and 5 over 8. So this is the corresponding parts. I cross multiply, 9 times 8 is 72, and 16 times 5 is 80. And yeah, those numbers are not equal, so they are not similar. Same thing with B. Now, there are three numbers, and sometimes that throws people off, but don't let it throw you off. The only thing that you need to concern yourself with is picking two of those three numbers and the corresponding parts. Now, I picked 3 and 4, so the matching part for 3 is 5, the matching part for 4 is 6. So I have 3/4 equals 5, 6. I cross multiply. 4 times 5 is 20. 6 times 3 is 18. All right, they are not equal, so nope, this is not similar. I'll take a moment to have you the beauty of C, answer choice T, so C to wash over you. You can hear my dog squeak toy in the background. So how many sides does the first shape have? It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It does not. The second shape only has 3. There is no way that these are similar shapes because, I mean, they don't even have the same number of sides. No math required. No way. Logic. So bad, I'm going to make them disappear. Cadabra. All right, let's talk about D. D, in the same way as answer choice B, I will pick two of these sides. So I went ahead and picked 4 and 9, and the corresponding parts are 8 and 18. So when I take a look at this and I do the math, 9 times 8 is 72, 18 times 4 is 72. So yes, D is similar. All right, so moving right along. Number 4 is another indirect measurement problem, and so we know this is one of the measures. 64 is the height, and 48 is the length of the shadow. We don't know the height, and 30 is the length of the shadow. And this time I wrote them both ways. All I did was take the reciprocal. It does not matter if we have one fraction being one person, the other. As long as the numerators match up and the denominators correspond, and the numerators correspond, when I cross multiply, I end up with the same thing. 48x is equal to 1920. Isolating for x, I do the inverse operation, which is division, and that gives me 40 inches. That's how tall the other person is. Moving right along. So 5 gives us a congruence statement, and it's asking us to find the one of these answer choices that is incorrect. So let's compare. AB and RS. So AB is the first two letters, RS is the first two letters. They match, so they must be congruent. Since we're looking for the wrong answer, A cannot be our choice. That's CD and TU. So CD is the last two, the third and the fourth letter rather, and TU is the third and the fourth. So they match up. That is correct. They are definitely congruent. So this cannot be our answer choice. T and C. So T is the third letter. C is also the third letter. It doesn't matter that we went from right to left. Their place in the order of the way these parallelograms are named, them both being the third letter, lets us know that is correct. So it cannot be C. So we know D is the right answer, but let's look at why. A is the first letter. U is the last letter. There's no way that this is correct. So D is the correct answer choice if you are looking for the only incorrect comparison for number 5. All right, so for number 6, that gives us, again, a measurement of a couple of different rectangles. The way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to put the lengths in the numerator and the widths in the denominator. So that in mind, I have 18 over 6 and x over 2. You've gotten really tired of me probably saying this, but cross multiply. So 6 times x is 6x, 2 times 18 is 36. Isolate by doing the opposite of multiplication, which is division. Oh, we got this. X is equal to 6 centimeters. Beautiful. Moving right along. We want to determine these triangles are similar. So I left this in here. These angles are equal because they're vertical. That's from the last chapter, chapter 6, if you're following along at home. And if these are equal angles and the 60s are equal angles, that means A and D have to be equal. So because all of the angles are equal, the triangles have to be similar. So beautiful. I know that they're similar by all angles being equal. And then I'm just going to write a statement. So I wrote down 1, A, B, C. Now, what's not important is the order of the first 3 letters. What is important is the next 3 letters because they have to correspond. So this angle, angle A, is the one without the 60 degrees. And so D is the angle without the 60 degrees. So A and D have to match up. They have to be the first letter. B is the second letter, and so this is actually wrong on your screen. This should be DBE. So D and B, so this should not be DEB, but DBE. So correct that. I'm sorry that I have it wrong on the screen, but we are learning as we go and making mistakes as we learn. So A, B, C, D, B, E, not D, E, B. This is incorrect. If it was D, E, B, I would have A, C, B as my correct statement. And I can pick any order for the first three letters to go into, but unlike this one, which I'm going to take off the screen, the second three must also be in the corresponding order. All right. Trucking right along. Here we go with number 8. All right, so number 8, we got to determine if they're congruent by using transformations. So first, they're the same size. Awesome. If they're the same size, that means they are not dilated. Also, these two triangles appear to both be upright. They're both the right angle is on the bottom. That means they were not rotated. If they're rotated, one of them would be turned. All right, so lastly, we see that they're pointing in different directions. So if they're pointing in different directions, they're definitely reflected because they're facing opposite directions. That's the reason. And then if they're just reflected, they would also be even, but they're not. This PMN is actually lower than HFG. So that means there's translated. So there's a translation because they've been slid to a new location. Awesome. Let's take a look at number 9. All right, cool. There's a couple of different ones here. So from the big one to the small one, it's not a reflection because if it was a reflection, the centers would line up. So this triangle would, or the rectangle rather, ABC would be where I am outlining here on the screen with my mouse. So it's definitely a translation because the smaller triangle ABCD, or rectangle rather, was moved downward. Yeah, it's a square, but every single square is a rectangle. And then also we know that it changed size. So if it changed size, it's got to be a dilation. It definitely got smaller. There could be an argument if you want to go from right to left that it got bigger, so I just put this. Also, dilations mean when it changes size. So let's move right along to the last problem. Is that triangle similar to the other triangle? Okay, cool. So its height is 2 and its width is 2 for ABC. And for CDE, its height is 4 and its width is 4. So let's set up the fraction. Cross multiply, 2 times 4 and 2 times 4, 8 equals 8. If you have already beat me to the punch and said that this is similar, you are correct. Yes, they are similar. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. So until next time, keep doing the math, but realize as the screen goes blank and it says the end of the slideshow, that really what you should do is you should review this video along with your practice test if you're in my classes to understand all of the answers and how I got them. And as I said before, and I'm going to stop this time after I say it, keep doing the math, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you in class.